Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. I have a couple things I want to talk about. I'll probably break this up into a two-parter because I think it needs it. Um, it was prompted by a couple of things. One was by some conversation I've had with one of my coworkers, and others by some comments I've seen recently. But it was my coworker who got me started thinking about this subject, and so I've noticed that my coworker, along with several people who are of his political leaning, tend to speak very contemptuously of the homeless and anyone who's on welfare or on social assistance. And my response to that has always been, they talk like someone who's never been hungry in their lives or homeless in their lives. But then again, what have I got to talk about? Have I done any, do I work with the homeless? Have I done any study of the homeless? And the answer to that question is no. Have I ever been homeless? Yes, I've been homeless. I was a child. The circumstances are thus. My parents, I was about 6 years old, my parents had put their house up for sale. They figured they'd have plenty of time to find a new place to live before it sold. But it sold almost immediately. And within 30 days of the sale, they had to leave the house. I grew up in a small coastal town in Maine, population of 5,000 people. There were no apartments to rent. There were very, very few houses to rent. There was nothing available for my parents to live in. They had nowhere to go, but they had to vacate their house. It wasn't theirs anymore. What did we do? We lived in a tent. We lived in a tent off of the Little League field for 4 or 5 months. And when it was the summertime when the house sold, but September rolled around, I had to go to school. The school bus picked me up at the Little League field and dropped me off at the Little League field. My father had a full-time job. It's not like he was, a deadbeat bum. There was just no place for them to go. Most of my parents' friends lived in small houses. My parents were taking care of 5 kids. Most of my parents' friends didn't have the room to keep us for a long period of time. Like I said, it's summertime. We can live in a tent for a while till we find a place to live. But days dragged into weeks and weeks dragged into months. I had no toys to play with. I was bored out of my skull. Everything we owned was in storage somewhere. I had my bicycle, which I used to ride around the Little League tracks, Little League field, right around the bases. Man, I'm surprised my parents didn't kill us all. Can you imagine 5 kids in a tent with nothing to do for 4 months? But these people who look down on the homeless, who condemn the homeless for being, who speak contemptuously, what would they have thought of my family if they had seen that? If you had driven by and seen that, seen a guy and his family and their kids live in a tent for months on end, what would you have thought about my father? You would have said, what a useless deadbeat, what a piece of trash, what a piece of human garbage. You would have thought that about my father because you do. I mean, you look at me and think, oh, well, I'm one of the good ones. No, I'm one of the lucky ones. But you have no way of knowing who amongst those people you see on the side of the road are just people whose circumstances have been screwed over or not. You have no way of knowing. But I realized that the reason they speak contemptuously of the homeless and the poor is because they have to. Because if you think of them as people who are down on their luck, if you think of them as people who just need help, and you refuse to help them, then you're not a good person. If you see someone who's starving and you refuse to feed them, see someone who's cold and refuse to give them warmth, then you're not a good person. You need to believe these people are human garbage, because as long as you think they're human garbage, you can treat them like garbage. It doesn't matter what happens to them. You can ignore them. You can insult them. You can look down on them. The cops can come and trash all their stuff. And you will cheer for it. You'll be happy that they were treated like human garbage. But you don't know. They could be me. They could have been me. Every time you look down on someone who's homeless like that, you're looking down on someone like me. But you need to. You can't treat them like people. You can't, because then you have to care. And you don't want to care. You really don't. When I drive by someone with a sign, if I've got cash, I'll stop and give it to them. Because I've been in their shoes. I know what it's like. I know what it's like on a cold October morning to have to go outside and dig a hole to go to the bathroom in the dark. I did that when I was 7. I can't look down on those people. I can't. But you can. Good hunting.